They say the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I spent 3 years of my life, helping them steal from dying children. And I had no idea. My name is Ruth. I'm 67 years old. And for 35 years, I was a teacher. Elementary school. Second grade, mostly. You know what I loved most about teaching? The kids. Their innocence. Their trust. The way they believed the world was fundamentally good. I retired at 64. My husband Harold passed away 2 years before that. Cancer. The cruel irony isn't lost on me now. Our children were grown and living their own lives. Michael in California. Sarah in Texas. Both with families of their own. Both busy. And suddenly, I had all this time. All this energy. And nowhere to direct it. I didn't want to just fade away. Play bingo at the senior center. Watch daytime television. Wait for grandchildren to visit twice a year. I wanted to matter. To help. To make a difference with whatever years I had left. That's when I found Bright Hope Children's Foundation. It was a Saturday in May. Beautiful spring morning. The community was holding a charity fair in the park. Local organizations setting up booths. Trying to recruit volunteers and donors. I was walking past the tables when one caught my eye. Beautiful photographs. Children with bald heads. Bright smiles despite hospital gowns. One little girl, maybe 5 years old, holding a stuffed teddy bear. The caption read, "Hope is stronger than fear." The banner above the booth said, "Bright Hope Children's Foundation, giving hope to children fighting cancer." A woman approached me. Mid-50s, I'd guess. Perfectly styled blonde hair. Warm smile. Professional but approachable. The kind of person who immediately puts you at ease. "Hi there. I'm Caroline Brennan, the director of Bright Hope. Are you familiar with our work?" I wasn't. I told her so. She gestured to the photographs. "We provide financial assistance to families with children battling cancer. Medical bills can be devastating. Even with insurance, families face thousands in out-of-pocket costs. Travel expenses if treatment is far from home. Housing near hospitals for long-term care. Lost wages because parents have to take time off work." I listened, nodding. I'd seen it firsthand during Harold's illness. The bills that kept coming. The impossible choices between treatment and mortgage payments. Bright Hope steps in during those impossible moments, Caroline continued. "We help with medical expenses. We cover travel and housing. We organize events to lift spirits. We fund research. And we rely entirely on donations and volunteers. People like you who care about making a real difference. People like you." Those 3 words settled into my heart. "I'd like to volunteer," I said. "What do you need?" Caroline's face lit up. "Truly? Oh, that's wonderful. We always need help with event planning, donor outreach, administrative support. How much time can you give?" "I'm retired. I have plenty of time." "Perfect. Let me get your information. Our next volunteer orientation is Tuesday evening. Can you make it?" I could. I did. That Tuesday, I sat in a small conference room with 8 other potential volunteers. Caroline gave a presentation about Bright Hope's mission. Showed videos of families they'd helped. One video broke me. A mother named Jennifer, holding her daughter who couldn't have been more than 6 years old. The little girl was bald, thin, but smiling. "When Emma was diagnosed with leukemia, our world fell apart," Jennifer said through tears. "The treatment was experimental. Not covered by insurance. We were looking at $200,000 we didn't have. We were going to lose our house. Maybe declare bankruptcy. Then Bright Hope stepped in. They covered the treatment. Saved our daughter's life. We will never forget their kindness." I wiped my eyes. Looked around the room. Everyone was crying. This was real. This was important. This was how I could honor Harold's memory. By helping other families facing the same nightmare we'd faced. I signed up that night. Started volunteering the following week. My first assignment was helping organize Bright Hope's annual gala. Their biggest fundraiser of the year. I threw myself into the work. Made phone calls to potential sponsors. Helped design invitations. Coordinated with the venue. Managed the silent auction items. Caroline kept praising my work. "Ruth, you're amazing. Where have you been hiding? This is the most organized our gala planning has ever been." I felt useful. Needed. Like I had purpose again. The night of the gala arrived. Early November. The ballroom held 300 people. Donors in elegant gowns and tuxedos. A silent auction with luxury items. Vacation packages. Designer handbags. Artwork. A live band played during dinner. The food was exceptional. Everything felt high-end, professional. And throughout the evening, they showed video testimonials. Families whose children had been helped by Bright Hope. A father talking about how Bright Hope paid for his son's transportation to a specialist 3 states away. Round-trip flights for 6 months of treatment. Housing near the hospital. A mother describing how Bright Hope covered her daughter's experimental medication when insurance denied it. $30,000. Life-saving. Another family whose son had a rare form of bone cancer. Bright Hope paid for his surgery, his recovery, his physical therapy. I watched those videos with tears streaming down my face. This was why I was here. This was what mattered. At the end of the night, Caroline took the stage for the final announcement. The room went quiet. Anticipation hung in the air. I want to thank everyone who came tonight. Your generosity, your compassion, your commitment to helping children in their darkest hours. It's what makes Bright Hope possible. She paused. Looked around the room. Tonight, thanks to your incredible generosity, we've raised $523,000. The room erupted in applause. People stood, cheered. Caroline's voice caught with emotion. Every single penny will go directly to the children who need it most. To the families facing impossible choices. You are giving them hope. You are giving them life. Thank you. More applause. More cheers. I felt it too. That rush of accomplishment. That warmth of knowing we'd done something truly good. $523,000 for dying children. Caroline found me after the event. The ballroom was nearly empty. Staff cleaning up. Volunteers packing away decorations. Ruth. She took both my hands. You were incredible tonight. Seriously. The way you connected with donors. Your organizational skills. Your warmth. People trust you. Thank you. I just wanted to help. You did more than help. You made this event a success. She squeezed my hands. I could really use someone like you on a more permanent basis. Not just for events. For everything. I'm just a volunteer, I said. The best volunteers become family, she replied. Her eyes were sincere. Genuine. What do you say, Ruth? Want to help me change the world? How could I say no to that? Over the next months, I became essential to Bright Hope. I worked nearly full-time, though I was never paid. I didn't want payment. This wasn't about money. It was about impact. I organized fundraising dinners. Reached out to potential sponsors. Managed donor databases. Coordinated volunteer schedules. Wrote thank you letters. Updated the website. Handled social media. I became the face of Bright Hope in our community. People would stop me at the grocery store. Ruth, I saw you at the Bright Hope event last month. What you're doing is so important. Here, take my card. My company wants to make a donation. Local businesses donated. Churches held collection drives. Schools organized fundraisers. Our local Rotary Club made Bright Hope their charity of the year. And every month, Caroline would share updates in our volunteer meetings. This month, we helped 12 families. Paid for chemotherapy treatments. Covered travel costs to specialists. Provided housing assistance for families whose children needed long-term care far from home. 12 families. Real people. Real children. I kept a folder at home. Thank you letters from families. Parents writing about how Bright Hope had saved them during the darkest time of their lives. One letter I read over and over. Dear Bright Hope, I don't know how to express what you've done for our family. When our insurance denied coverage for Emma's experimental treatment, we thought we'd lost our last hope. Then you stepped in. You paid for everything. Emma is in remission now. She starts 2nd grade next month. Because of you, she has a future. We will never forget your kindness. With eternal gratitude, Jennifer and Tom. That letter made me cry every time I read it. This was why I did it. This was what mattered. Helping families like Jennifer's. Giving dying children a chance at life. Year 2, we expanded our operations. Hired a small staff. Caroline's boyfriend Marcus helped with logistics. Her sister Victoria consulted on fundraising strategy. We opened a small office in a professional building downtown. Our annual gala grew from 300 attendees to 500. We raised $780,000 that year. $780,000 for dying children. I felt proud. Accomplished. Like my retirement years were turning into the most meaningful chapter of my life. Caroline and I became close. More than boss and volunteer. Friends. We'd have lunch together once a week. She'd confide in me about the challenges of running a nonprofit. The constant need for funds. The emotional toll of seeing so many sick children. The pressure to help everyone when resources were limited. Sometimes I lie awake at night wondering if we're doing enough, she'd say, her eyes misty. There are so many families who need help. I wish we could save them all. Her passion seemed genuine. Her dedication seemed real. The way she talked about the children, the families, the mission, it all felt authentic. I trusted her completely. Why wouldn't I? Everything I saw confirmed that Bright Hope was exactly what it claimed to be. A lifeline for desperate families. But looking back now, I see what I missed. The way Caroline always changed the subject when I asked detailed questions about finances. The vendor invoices that seemed high but that I never questioned because I didn't want to seem like I was doubting her. The families who thanked us but whose gratitude seemed smaller than it should have been for the amounts we'd supposedly given them. Small things. Tiny red flags I ignored because I wanted so badly to believe in what we were doing. Year 3 started like the others. New fundraising goals. New families to help. New events to plan. I was busier than ever. Working 6 days a week at the Bright Hope office. Loving every minute of it. Then came the day everything changed. It was a Tuesday afternoon in March. Late afternoon. Most of the staff had gone home. I was at my desk finishing donor thank you letters. Caroline had left her office door open. Her computer was on her desk, screen visible from where I sat. I wasn't snooping. I wasn't trying to see anything private. But I glanced over at the wrong moment. Or maybe, the right moment. An email was open on her screen. Just the subject line and first sentence visible. Subject, this month's numbers. First line, this month's take, 87K. Not bad. Marcus. I stared at those words. This month's take. Not this month's donations collected or this month's fundraising total. Take. Like money being taken. Pocketed. Stolen. My stomach tightened. My hands went cold. I looked away quickly. Tried to focus on my letters. But my mind was spinning. Take. Maybe it was accounting terminology I didn't understand. Maybe take was a normal nonprofit term. But something about it felt wrong. Felt dirty. I finished my letters. Said goodnight to Caroline. Drove home in a daze. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. This month's take, 87K. What did that mean? $87,000. That was a lot of money. Where was it going? The next morning, I told myself I was being paranoid. Reading too much into an out-of-context email. Caroline was trustworthy. Bright Hope was legitimate. I'd seen the families they helped. I'd read their thank you letters. But the doubt had planted itself in my mind. And over the following weeks, I started noticing things I'd previously ignored. Little things. Inconsistencies. Questions without good answers. The vendor invoices I processed. The amount seemed high. Really high. The program expenses in our quarterly reports. The numbers looked impressive. But when I tried to match them to actual checks we'd sent to families, they didn't align. The consultant fees. We paid Victoria, Caroline's sister, $15,000 per month. But I'd never seen any reports or recommendations from her. Never even met her. Small things. But together, they formed a pattern. A pattern that scared me. What if I'd been wrong about Bright Hope? What if those 3 years of work, those hundreds of thousands of dollars raised, those families I thought we were helping? What if it was all a lie? I needed to know the truth. Even if the truth destroyed me. I started paying attention. Not obviously. Not in a way that would raise suspicion. I couldn't let Caroline know I was questioning anything. But I started noticing things I'd previously accepted without thought. The vendor invoices, for example. Every month, I processed payments to various companies. Catering services. Event planning. Marketing consultants. Printing companies. I'd always assumed the costs were reasonable. Nonprofits have expenses, right? You can't run an organization on goodwill alone. But one afternoon, I was having coffee with my friend Helen. She mentioned that her daughter Rebecca was getting married in June. The catering alone is killing us, Helen sighed. $18,000 for 200 guests. But Rebecca insists on this particular venue. $18,000 for 200 people. Full dinner service. Wedding quality food. I thought about Bright Hope's quarterly donor appreciation dinners. We typically had about 120 guests. Appetizers and drinks. Not a full meal. And we paid Elegant Events $40,000 per event. $40,000. For half the guests. For less food. At a hotel ballroom, not some exclusive venue. The math didn't make sense. That evening, I went back through our records. Pulled every invoice from Elegant Events over the past 2 years. 8 events. $40,000 to $45,000 each. Total, $330,000 paid to this one catering company. I searched for Elegant Events online. Surely a company handling such high-end nonprofit events would have a website, reviews, a social media presence. Nothing. No website. No Facebook page. No reviews on Yelp or Google. For a catering company supposedly doing hundreds of thousands of dollars in business, they had zero online footprint. That was strange. Really strange. I dug deeper. Found their business registration through the state's online database. Elegant Events LLC. Registered owner, Marcus Brennan. Marcus. Caroline's boyfriend. We were paying Caroline's boyfriend $40,000 per event. For catering that probably cost a fraction of that amount. My chest felt tight. Maybe there was an explanation. Maybe Marcus gave us a discount as a favor. Maybe the costs were legitimate and I just didn't understand event catering. But it felt wrong. I kept digging through our financial records. Looking at other expenses with fresh, suspicious eyes. Consultant fees. Every month, we paid $15,000 to Victoria Hayes Consulting. Victoria Hayes. I'd never met her. Never seen her at the office. Never received any reports or strategic recommendations from her. $15,000 per month. $180,000 per year. For what exactly? I searched the business registry again. Victoria Hayes Consulting. Same business address as Caroline's home address. Then I looked up Victoria Hayes on social media. Found her Facebook profile easily. Victoria Hayes Brennan. Relationship status, sister of Caroline Brennan. We were paying Caroline's sister $15,000 every single month. And I had no idea what services she was supposedly providing. My hands were shaking as I continued searching through the records. Marketing expenses. We paid a company called Pinnacle Media Solutions $90,000 last year for digital marketing and branding services. I'd never seen any new marketing materials. Our website looked the same. Our social media was managed by me and one other volunteer. $90,000 for marketing I couldn't identify. Business registry search, Pinnacle Media Solutions. Registered owner, David Hayes. Facebook search, David Hayes. Brother-in-law to Caroline Brennan. Married to Victoria. They were all related. All of them. The vendors we were paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to, they were Caroline's family members running shell companies. I felt sick. But the worst discovery was still to come. I pulled our quarterly impact reports. The documents we shared with donors showing how much money we'd raised and how we'd spent it. Last quarter's report claimed we'd distributed $87,000 in direct family assistance. 87,000. That number felt familiar. Then I remembered. The email I'd seen on Caroline's computer. This month's take, $87K. I cross-referenced the report with our checking account records. The actual checks written to families. The Johnson family, $2,500. The Martinez family, $3,000. The Patterson family, $1,800. The Chen family, $2,000. I went through every check, added them up. Total direct assistance actually paid to families last quarter, $23,400. But our report claimed $87,000. Where was the other $63,600? The answer was obvious. It wasn't going to families. It was going somewhere else. Into someone's pocket. I sat at my desk staring at the numbers. My vision blurred with tears. For 3 years, I'd been the face of bright hope. I'd looked donors in the eye. Promised them their money was helping dying children. I'd convinced my friends to donate. My church community. Local businesses. Everyone trusted me. And it was a lie. Not all of it. Some families were getting help. But nowhere near what donors believed. Nowhere near what we were claiming. The rest was being stolen. Systematically. By Caroline and her family. I needed more proof. I needed to see exactly how deep this went. But I had to be careful. If Caroline suspected I knew something, she'd destroy evidence. Shut down bright hope. Disappear. I took a deep breath. Steadied myself. Made a decision. I would continue acting normal. Devoted Ruth. Hardworking volunteer. Trusted friend. And quietly, carefully, I would gather evidence. The next morning, I arrived at the office with coffee and donuts. Bright smile. Cheerful greeting. Good morning, Caroline. Beautiful day, isn't it? She looked up from her computer. smiled back. Ruth, you're in a good mood. Spring is coming. Always makes me happy. Hey, I was thinking about our donor database. I'd love to update some of the family testimonials on our website. Do we have contact information for the families we helped in the last 6 months? Oh, that's a great idea. Let me pull that list for you. She emailed me a spreadsheet. 23 families we'd supposedly helped recently. That afternoon, I started calling them. Told them I was from Bright Hope, doing follow-up to see how their children were doing. The first call was to the Johnson family. Their son Tyler had leukemia. Mrs. Johnson answered. Her voice was warm. Oh, Bright Hope. Yes, we're so grateful for your help. That $2,500 really helped with gas money for Tyler's treatments. The hospital is 90 miles away, and we were making the trip 3 times a week. It added up fast. 2,500. That matched our records. Good. I'm so glad we could help. And I see from our files that we featured Tyler's story in our spring fundraiser. Do you remember that event? I don't think so. You featured Tyler? Yes. We shared his story with donors. It was very moving. The event raised quite a bit in his name. Oh. Wow. We had no idea. How much did you raise? I looked at the internal documents. $42,000. During the event where we shared Tyler's story. Silence on the other end of the line. 42,000? But we only received 2,500. Yes. The rest went to other families and operating expenses. But your story really inspired people to give. I see. Her voice had changed. Cooler now. Thank you for calling. She hung up. I felt horrible. But I needed to know if this was a pattern. I called the Martinez family. The Patterson family. The Chen family. Every conversation was similar. We received $3,000. We're grateful, but, you raised how much in our daughter's name? 1,800 helped with our son's medication. But you're saying people donated $30,000 when you showed his picture? $2,000 for parking and meals. That's what we got. Where did the rest of the money go? Where indeed? Some families were confused. Some were angry. One mother started crying. We almost lost our house. We were desperate. And you're telling me people donated $50,000 for Emma, but we only got $2,000? I'm so sorry, I whispered. I'm trying to understand what happened. I think there may have been a serious problem with fund allocation. A problem? That's not a problem. That's theft. That's stealing from sick children. She was right. I documented every conversation. Wrote down every family story. The amount they received versus the amount raised in their name. The pattern was clear and consistent. Families received small amounts. $500 to $3,000. Enough to seem legitimate. Enough to generate thank you letters. But Bright Hope raised 10, 20, sometimes 50 times that amount using their children's stories. Where was the rest going? Into shell companies owned by Caroline's family. Into their pockets. That night, I barely slept. I kept seeing those families' faces. Hearing the mother's voice. That's stealing from sick children. She was right. And I'd helped them do it. For 3 years, I'd been their unwitting accomplice. The respectable face that made donors trust Bright Hope. The next day, I made another discovery. One that made everything even worse. I was filing paperwork when I found a folder labeled Marketing Materials Archive. Inside were contracts with photographers. And model release forms. I opened one. Read it carefully. Agreement between Bright Hope Children's Foundation and Amanda Reeves, parent/guardian of minor child Trevor Reeves, age 7. Payment, $500 for unlimited use of minor's image in promotional materials for Bright Hope Children's Foundation. Parent/guardian acknowledges that minor child does not have cancer and is not receiving services from Bright Hope. Images are for marketing and fundraising purposes only. I read it 3 times. Making sure I understood correctly. The child in this photo. Trevor, the boy whose story appeared on our brochures, he didn't have cancer. He was a healthy child. His mother was paid $500 to let us use his picture. To let us pretend he was dying. I flipped through more contracts. Found 7 more just like it. 8 children total. All healthy. All paid models. Whose photographs we used in fundraising materials to manipulate emotions and open wallets. This is Trevor. He's 7 years old and battling leukemia. Your donation can help save his life. Except Trevor didn't have leukemia. Trevor was a healthy 2nd grader whose mom needed $500. I photographed every contract with my phone. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold it steady. This wasn't just financial mismanagement. This wasn't just overhead costs or accounting confusion. This was fraud. Deliberate, calculated, cruel fraud. They were using fake sick children to steal from generous people. And real sick children, they were being exploited too. Their stories used to raise huge amounts, while their families received pennies. I needed to talk to someone. Someone who could help me understand what to do next. But who? If I went to Caroline, she'd deny everything. Destroy evidence. If I went public without enough proof, they'd discredit me. Call me a confused old woman. I needed help. Professional help. That evening, I called Daniel, one of my former students. I'd taught him in second grade 30 years ago. He'd stayed in touch over the years, always credited me with inspiring his love of math. Now he was a forensic accountant. Mrs. Patterson. What a wonderful surprise. How are you? Daniel, I need your help with something. And I need you to keep it completely confidential. His tone changed immediately. Serious. Concerned. Of course. What's going on? I told him everything. The suspicious invoices. The shell companies owned by Caroline's family. The discrepancies between reported assistants and actual checks. The fake sick children. The real sick children being exploited. He was quiet for a long moment after I finished. Mrs. Patterson, what you're describing sounds like textbook charity fraud. Serious fraud. Federal crimes. Have you contacted the authorities? Not yet. I need to make sure I have everything documented first. Solid proof. That's where you come in. Can you look at financial records and help me understand exactly what they're doing? How much they're stealing? Absolutely. But I need to warn you, if this is what you think it is, you could be in danger. People who steal this much money don't just walk away quietly when they're caught. Danger. I hadn't really thought about that. I'll be careful, I said. I just need to know the truth. And then I need to know how to stop them. Send me everything you have. Every document, every photo, every piece of evidence. I'll review it and get back to you. That night, I emailed him hundreds of photos. Bank statements. Invoices. Contracts. Model release forms. Family contact information. Everything. 2 days later, Daniel called me back. His voice was grim. Mrs. Patterson, I've reviewed everything you sent. This is worse than you thought. My stomach dropped. How bad? Based on these financial records, I'd estimate that less than 30% of donations are going to actual charitable purposes. The rest is being siphoned off through fake vendors, inflated expenses, and what are essentially kickback schemes. Less than 30%. In the 3 years you've been involved, Bright Hope has raised approximately $2.3 million. That means roughly $1.6 million has been stolen. $1.6 million. Stolen from people who thought they were helping dying children. What should I do? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. You need to go to the FBI. This is federal wire fraud, mail fraud, charity fraud. Probably tax evasion too. These are serious crimes with serious prison time attached. Should I confront Caroline first? Give her a chance to explain? Absolutely not. If she knows you're onto her, she'll destroy evidence and disappear. People like this always have an exit strategy. No, you need to go to the authorities with what you have. Let them handle it. Will it be enough? To prosecute her? What you have is a strong start. But ideally, you'd want more. You'd want her on record admitting what she's doing. You'd want to catch them in the act. How would I do that? That's above my expertise, Mrs. Patterson. But I know someone who might be able to help. An FBI agent I've worked with on other fraud cases. Would you be willing to talk to her? I thought about those families. The mother crying on the phone. The children whose suffering was being used to line Caroline's pockets. Yes. Set it up. 3 days later, I sat in a coffee shop 40 miles from my town. Far enough that I wouldn't run into anyone I knew. FBI Special Agent Sarah Chin sat across from me. Early 40s, Asian American, sharp intelligent eyes. No nonsense demeanor. Mrs. Patterson, Daniel briefed me on the situation. I've done a preliminary review of the documents you provided. There's definitely something here. But I need you to understand what you're getting into if we pursue this. I understand. Do you? Because if we move forward, you'll need to continue working at Bright Hope, acting normal, gathering more evidence, possibly wearing a wire to record conversations with Caroline Brennan. It could take months. And if she suspects anything, Agent Chen paused. People who steal this much money can become dangerous when cornered. There was that word again. Dangerous. I thought about my quiet retirement, my safe, comfortable life. Then I thought about Emma. The little girl in the pink hat, whose family got 2,000 while we raised 50,000 in her name. I'll do it, I said firmly. Whatever it takes. Agent Chen studied my face for a moment. Then nodded. All right, Mrs. Patterson. Then let's bring down a charity fraud ring. Agent Chen leaned forward, her expression serious. Here's how this is going to work, Mrs. Patterson. You're going to continue your normal routine at Bright Hope. Same dedication, same enthusiasm. Caroline cannot suspect anything has changed. I nodded, trying to steady my breathing. Meanwhile, you'll be documenting everything. I'm going to give you a small recording device. It looks like a pen, but it records audio. You'll wear it during conversations with Caroline. Especially one-on-one conversations. She pulled a pen from her bag, showed me how to activate it, how to download the files. Your goal is to get Caroline talking about the finances. About where the money goes. About her family's companies. But you have to be subtle. Natural. If she thinks you're interrogating her, she'll shut down. How do I do that? Just bring up finances casually? Build up to it. Express concerns about donor questions. About transparency. Make it seem like you're trying to help her, not investigate her. Can you do that? Could I? I was a 70-year-old retired teacher, not an undercover operative. But I thought about those families again. About the fake sick children. About 1.6 million stolen dollars. Yes. I can do it. Good. One more thing. We'll need access to Bright Hope's complete financial records. Bank statements, tax returns, internal accounting documents. Can you get those? I thought about Caroline's office. Her filing cabinet. Her computer. I think so. She trusts me. Sometimes she leaves me alone in the office. Perfect. Photograph everything. Be careful. Be thorough. And Mrs. Patterson? Agent Chen's eyes locked with mine. If at any point you feel unsafe, you call me immediately. Day or night. Understood? Understood. She handed me her card. Written on the back was a personal cell number. This investigation could take weeks. Maybe months. Are you prepared for that? I straightened my shoulders. I've come this far. I'm not backing down now. Agent Chen smiled for the first time. Daniel was right about you. You're tougher than you look. The next morning, I went to Bright Hope like nothing had happened. Good morning, Caroline. Beautiful day. She looked up from her desk. Smiled warmly. Ruth, you're always so cheerful. What would I do without you? You'd find another person to manipulate, I thought. But I smiled back. Oh, you'd manage. Hey, I've been thinking about the spring fundraiser. Should we invite that journalist from the Tribune? The one who did that nice piece on us last year? Great idea. Yes, reach out to her. The more positive press, the better. I spent the morning making calls, planning events, acting completely normal. But the recording pen was in my shirt pocket. Activated. Over lunch, I tried my first subtle probe. Caroline, I had a donor call yesterday with some questions about our financial breakdown, how we allocate funds. I gave her the general overview, but I wondered if you had more specific numbers I could share. Caroline waved her hand dismissively. You know donors. They always want to see every penny accounted for. Just tell them that approximately 70% goes directly to program services, and 30% covers operational costs. That's standard for nonprofits. Right. And program services means direct assistance to families, medical bill payments, travel and housing support, all the things we do. But that wasn't true. I knew it wasn't true. Less than 30% was actually going to families. I nodded, making a mental note. She was lying smoothly, confidently. And the operational costs? That covers salaries, office rent, vendor expenses? Exactly. It takes money to raise money, Ruth. Donors understand that. Don't worry so much about the details. That's my job. Don't worry about the details. In other words, don't ask questions. The recording pen captured every word. Over the next 2 weeks, I had similar conversations. Each time, getting Caroline to talk a little more about the finances. I expressed concerns about a donor who was really particular about transparency. I mentioned that a business owner wanted to see detailed expense reports before making a large donation. Each time, Caroline gave me just enough information to be helpful, but her answers were vague, designed to satisfy without revealing real numbers. But the recordings were piling up. Small admissions, deflections, explanations that didn't quite add up. Then came my opportunity for the big evidence. Caroline had a family emergency. Her mother in Florida had fallen and broken her hip. Ruth, I'm so sorry, but I need to fly out today. I'll be gone for 3 or 4 days. Can you hold down the fort? Of course. Don't worry about anything here. Family comes first. She grabbed her purse, gave me a quick hug, and rushed out. I waited 30 minutes. Made sure she was really gone. Then I walked to her office. My heart was pounding. This was it. This was my chance to get everything. I started with her filing cabinet, pulled open the top drawer. Inside were folders organized by year. I pulled the current year's folder. Bank statements for Bright Hope's main operating account. I laid them out on her desk and photographed every page with my phone. Deposits. Withdrawals. The patterns were damning. Large deposits from donors and fundraising events. Then regular withdrawals to Elegant Events, Victoria Hayes Consulting, Pinnacle Media Solutions, and half a dozen other companies I now knew were owned by Caroline's family. I photographed everything. Next drawer. Vendor contracts. Elegant Events, $40,000 per event for full-service catering and event coordination. Victoria Hayes Consulting, $15,000 per month for strategic planning and donor development services. Pinnacle Media Solutions, $7,500 per month for digital marketing and brand management. All contracts signed by Caroline. All payments going to her family members. I photographed every contract. Third drawer. Personnel files. Caroline's salary, $120,000 per year. For running a small nonprofit. Marcus Brennan listed as operations consultant, $60,000 per year. Plus his catering company payments. Victoria Hayes, $15,000 per month consulting fees. $180,000 per year. The family was pulling at least $400,000 per year directly, plus whatever profits their shell companies were making from the inflated invoices. $400,000. From a charity supposedly helping dying children. I felt sick but kept photographing. Bottom drawer. The folder labeled Marketing Materials Archive. The Fake Children. 8 model release forms. 8 healthy kids pretending to be sick for our fundraising materials. But there was something else in this folder. Something I hadn't seen before. Correspondence with real families. Families whose sick children were featured in our materials. I opened one letter. Dear Mrs. Brennan, thank you for the check for $500. We were hoping for more assistance, as you mentioned Bright Hope raised over $30,000 at the event where you shared our son's story. We're still facing significant medical bills. Is there any additional funding available? Caroline's response was clipped to the letter. Dear Martinez family, I'm so glad we could provide some assistance. Unfortunately, the funds raised at that event had multiple designations and operational expenses. The $500 represents your share after necessary deductions. We hope it helps. Best wishes, Caroline Brennan. $500 out of $30,000 raised. After necessary deductions. Necessary deductions. That's what she called stealing. I photographed the letter and Caroline's response. Found more like it. The same pattern. Families asking for more help. Caroline explaining that operational costs and administrative overhead meant they'd only receive a small fraction of what was raised in their child's name. All carefully worded to sound legitimate. But the truth was clear. She was stealing from dying children and their desperate families. I photographed over 200 pages that afternoon. Every bank statement. Every contract. Every invoice. Every piece of correspondence. My phone was full. My hands were cramping. But I had it all. Then I noticed Caroline's computer. It was off, but not password protected if you had physical access. Just sleeping. I jiggled the mouse. The screen came to life. Her email was open. I shouldn't. This was probably illegal. Accessing her computer without permission. But I'd come this far. I opened her sent folder. Started scrolling. And there it was. Email after email to Marcus and Victoria. Subject, March numbers. This month's take looks good. $87K after expenses. Split 3 ways as usual. Marcus, make sure the Elegant Events invoices match our story. Victoria, same with your consulting reports. We need the paper trail clean. Subject, concerned donor. Ruth mentioned someone asking detailed questions. I deflected. Might need to be more careful about which events we let her attend. She's great with donors but asks too many questions sometimes. I stared at that email. Dated 6 months ago. Caroline had been worried about my questions even then. But she'd kept me around because I was useful. Subject, new family for spring campaign. Found a great story. 6-year-old with brain tumor. Family is desperate. I offered them $2,000. They'll sign anything. Should be able to raise $50K minimum with this story. Kid's adorable. Bald, big eyes, perfect for video testimonials. A great story. A 6-year-old with a brain tumor was a great story. Not a tragedy. Not a child fighting for her life. A story. A marketing tool. I wanted to scream. To throw the computer across the room. Instead, I forwarded the emails to my personal account. Deleted the sent items from her outbox. Cleared the trash folder. Then I put the computer back to sleep. Exactly as I'd found it. I reorganized the filing cabinet. Made sure everything was exactly where it had been. Then I sat at my desk and cried. Quiet, shaking sobs. For the families. For the children. For my own naivety. For 3 years, I'd believed in bright hope. Believed in Caroline. Believed I was doing good in the world. And it was all a lie. That evening, I met with Agent Chen again. Same coffee shop. Same corner booth. I handed her a USB drive with all the photos and forwarded emails. She reviewed them on her laptop. Her expression grew darker with each file. Mrs. Patterson, this is excellent work. Really excellent. Bank statements showing the money flow. Contracts revealing the shell companies. Correspondence proving they knowingly gave families tiny amounts while raising huge sums. And these emails. She shook her head. These are devastating. Caroline essentially confessing to fraud in writing. Is it enough? I asked. It's close. Very close. But there's one more thing we need. What? We need Caroline on record. Audio or video of her admitting to the fraud. Explaining how the scheme works. Ideally, we'd want her to say explicitly that she's been stealing from the charity. How do I get that? She's careful. She deflects when I ask direct questions. You need to create a situation where she feels safe, where she thinks you're on her side. Maybe even make her think you're willing to be complicit. I stared at Agent Chen. You want me to pretend I'm okay with what she's doing? I want you to make her believe you understand. That you won't judge her. That you're still her friend and ally. Then, when her guard is down, she might admit things she wouldn't otherwise say. It made sense strategically. But the thought of pretending to be okay with what Caroline had done. I know it's difficult, Agent Chen said gently. But think of it this way. A few uncomfortable conversations in exchange for bringing down a fraud ring that's stolen over $1.5 million from sick children. Worth it? She was right. Of course she was right. Okay. I'll do it. Good. Let's plan this carefully. You'll invite Caroline to lunch. Somewhere nice but private. During the meal, you'll express some concerns about a donor who's asking very specific questions about finances. You'll act worried, like you're afraid the donor might cause problems. I listened carefully as Agent Chen laid out the strategy. Caroline will probably try to reassure you. That's when you push a little. Say something like, I know nonprofits have overhead. I know families can't get every dollar raised in their name. But this donor is really pressing for exact numbers. Make it seem like you need her help to deflect this donor. And that will make her open up? Hopefully. She'll either give you the official story to repeat, or if she thinks you're truly worried and on her side, she might be more honest. She might admit that the numbers don't quite add up and explain why. That's what we need. And I'll be recording? Every word. I took a deep breath. When should I do this? Soon. Before she gets back from Florida. Call her. Say you're worried about something urgent. Ask if you can meet as soon as she's back. Make it seem important. I called Caroline that night. Ruth, is everything okay at the office? Yes, everything's fine. But something came up. A donor situation I'd like your advice on. Are you free for lunch when you get back? Somewhere quiet where we can talk? Of course. Is it serious? It's potentially complicated. I'd rather discuss it in person. Okay. I land Saturday morning. Let's do lunch Saturday at 1 o'clock. How about Bella's? The Italian place on Maple? Perfect. See you then. I hung up. My hands were shaking. 3 days until Saturday. 3 days to prepare for the most important conversation of my life. 3 days until I would look my friend in the eye and try to get her to confess to stealing from dying children. Agent Chen checked in with me Friday night. Are you ready for tomorrow? As ready as I'll ever be. Remember, stay calm. Act concerned but not accusatory. You're asking for her help, not confronting her. You're a friend who's worried, not an investigator. I understand. And Mrs. Patterson? You're doing something incredibly brave. A lot of people would have walked away. But you're fighting for those families. That takes real courage. Her words steadied me. Saturday came. I dressed carefully. Nice but not too formal. The recording pen in my jacket pocket. I arrived at Bella's 10 minutes early. Chose a corner booth, private but not suspicious. Caroline arrived right on time. She looked tired from traveling but smiled when she saw me. Ruth, I missed you. How was everything while I was gone? Fine. Quiet. How's your mother? She'll be okay. Hip surgery went well. She'll need physical therapy but should make a full recovery. We ordered. Made small talk. Caught up on family news. Then, over salads, I made my move. Caroline, I need to talk to you about something. A donor called while you were gone. Jonathan Hartley. He owns Hartley Industries. He's considering a major donation. But he's asking very specific questions about our financial allocations. Caroline's smile faded slightly. What kind of questions? He wants to see a breakdown of exactly what percentage goes to families versus operational costs. And he wants documentation. Receipts for major expenses. He said he's been burned by charities before and wants to make sure his donation is used properly. Caroline took a sip of wine. That's fairly standard for large donors. We can provide that information. Can we? I leaned forward, lowering my voice. Caroline, I've been processing invoices for years. Some of our vendor costs seem high. I'm sure there are good explanations. But if Mr. Hartley starts asking detailed questions and wants to see actual invoices. I trailed off, looking worried. Caroline studied me carefully. Ruth, what exactly are you asking? This was it. The moment. I'm asking if our numbers are going to match up to what donors expect. Because I need to know how to handle Mr. Hartley. If he's going to find discrepancies, I need to be prepared to explain them. The word hung in the air. Discrepancies. Caroline was quiet for a long moment. Then she set down her fork. Ruth, how long have you been volunteering with Bright Hope? 3 years. 3 years. And in that time, have you seen the good work we do? Of course. Have you met families we've helped? Seen their gratitude? Yes, but then you understand that running a nonprofit is complicated. Expensive. We have staff salaries. Office rent. Event costs. Marketing expenses. All of that is necessary to raise the money that helps families. I understand that. But the amounts we pay to some vendors seem disproportionate too. Caroline held up her hand. Ruth, I'm going to be honest with you. Because I trust you. And because you've been loyal to Bright Hope for 3 years. She leaned in closer. Lowered her voice. Yes, some of our vendor costs are higher than they would be with completely independent companies. Marcus's catering company. Victoria's consulting firm. I hire family because I trust them. Because I know the quality will be good. And yes, we pay them well. They work hard. They deserve to be compensated fairly. I'm not questioning their work. I'm just worried about how it looks to donors. I know. And that's a valid concern. But here's the reality, Ruth. Running Bright Hope is my full-time job. It's also Marcus's full-time job helping with operations. And Victoria's consulting is what makes our fundraising successful. We could hire strangers for less money, but then we'd risk the quality of our events. Risk our fundraising numbers going down. In the long run, paying family members who I trust is better for the charity. It was a reasonable explanation. If you didn't know the truth. But the amounts we claim to give families, I pressed gently. Sometimes donors ask how much of the money raised at a specific event goes to the family featured in that event. What do I tell them? Caroline sighed. You tell them that Bright Hope uses individual stories to inspire giving, but all donations go into our general fund. We then distribute assistance based on need assessment, not on which event someone's story appeared at. So if we raise $50,000 at an event featuring Emma's story, Emma's family might only get $2,000 or $3,000? If that's what our need assessment determines, yes. Even though donors think their money is going to Emma specifically? Caroline's eyes hardened slightly. Donors are emotional, Ruth. They give because a story moves them. But we can't let emotions dictate how we allocate resources. We have to be strategic. We have to make sure Bright Hope stays operational so we can continue helping families. Do you understand? I understood perfectly. She was stealing from donors and calling it strategic resource allocation. I understand. But what do I tell Mr. Hartley if he wants to see exactly where his donation goes? You tell him that Bright Hope maintains the highest standards of nonprofit accounting, that we're happy to provide our annual financial reports, which are audited and show that 70% of donations go to program services. And you thank him for his interest and his potential generosity. But if he presses for more detail? Caroline's voice took on an edge. Then you refer him to me. Ruth, I appreciate your dedication. But donor relations at this level is my responsibility, not yours. You're wonderful at grassroots fundraising and volunteer coordination. Let me handle the major donors and the financial questions. Okay? She was shutting me down. Politely but firmly. I nodded. Okay. I just wanted to make sure I was representing Bright Hope accurately. You are. You always do. Don't worry so much. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Now, let's enjoy our lunch. Tell me about the spring fundraiser plans. We finished the meal talking about event logistics. Caroline seemed relaxed again. But I knew I'd rattled her. She'd admitted that families featured in fundraising often received only a fraction of what was raised in their names. She'd acknowledged that she paid family members higher rates than she might pay outsiders. Not a full confession. But enough. The recording pen captured every word. That evening, I met Agent Chen and played her the audio. She listened intently, nodding at certain points, making notes. When it finished, she looked up at me. This is good, Ruth. Really good. She essentially admitted to misleading donors about where their money goes. And she admitted to preferential treatment for family members as vendors. Is it enough, combined with everything else? The bank records, the emails, the contracts, the family testimonials? Yes. We have enough to move forward with charges. Relief washed over me. It was almost done. What happens now? Now, I take all of this to the U.S. Attorney's Office. They'll review the evidence and decide whether to file charges. If they do, we'll coordinate with local law enforcement to execute arrests. How long will that take? A few weeks. Maybe a month. These things move slowly. But Ruth, you've done your part. You've gathered incredible evidence. You should be proud. Proud. I didn't feel proud. I felt exhausted, sad, betrayed, but also determined. Agent Chen, when you arrest them, I want to be there. She hesitated. That's not standard procedure. Please. They used me for 3 years. Made me their unwitting accomplice. Made me lie to donors without even knowing I was lying. I need to see them face justice. I need them to know I'm the one who brought them down. Agent Chen considered this. I'll have to clear it with my supervisor. But I'll try. You've earned that much. 3 weeks later, Agent Chen called. We're moving forward. The U.S. Attorney is filing charges. Conspiracy to commit wire fraud. Mail fraud. Theft from a charitable organization. Tax evasion. All federal charges. When? Arrests are scheduled for 2 weeks from now. And Ruth? I got approval for you to be present. We're going to do it at your next big event. We want it public. We want other charity fraudsters to see what happens when you steal from sick children. Our next big event was the spring fundraiser. A smaller version of the annual gala. About 200 guests. Agent Chen, what if we made it even bigger? What if this was the event of the year? What if Caroline gave a speech about all the children Bright Hope has helped? There was a pause. Then Agent Chen laughed. Ruth Patterson, you are absolutely ruthless. I love it. Yes. Let's do it. Let's give Caroline Brennan the biggest stage of her life, right before we take it all away. I smiled. A cold, determined smile. Let's plan the perfect trap. The invitations went out 6 weeks before the event. I sat at my computer, carefully crafting the guest list. This wasn't just another fundraiser. This was going to be the most important night of my life, and Caroline's last night of freedom. Normally, our spring fundraiser attracted about 200 people. Local donors. Small business owners. Community members. This year, I invited 400. Major donors from surrounding counties. Wealthy philanthropists I'd researched online. Corporate executives whose companies had charitable giving programs. Local politicians. The mayor. 2 city council members. Our state representative. And critically, the media. I called the editor of our local newspaper, the Tribune. Her name was Michelle Santos. We'd spoken before when they'd covered Bright Hope events. Michelle, hi. This is Ruth Patterson from Bright Hope Children's Foundation. Ruth, how are you? What can I do for you? We're having our spring fundraiser in 6 weeks, and I think it's going to be newsworthy. Bright Hope's biggest event ever. Caroline is planning a major announcement about our impact over the past 3 years. Real numbers. Real families. It's going to be quite a story. I could hear the interest in her voice. That does sound newsworthy. What kind of numbers are we talking about? Over $2 million raised. Hundreds of families helped. Caroline's prepared an incredible presentation. I really think your readers would want to know about the impact happening right here in our community. Send me the details. I'll assign a reporter and photographer. Wonderful. Thank you, Michelle. One down. I called 2 local television stations next. Call and KNBC. Both had community interest segments. Human interest story about a local charity making a real difference. Heartwarming. Uplifting. Perfect for your community spotlight. Both stations confirmed they'd send crews. I made sure to mention to each media outlet that this was going to be the biggest event Bright Hope has ever held and that major announcements would be made. They took the bait. All of them. Caroline was thrilled when I showed her the guest list. Ruth, 400 people? This is incredible. How did you manage this? I've been making calls, sending emails, reaching out to everyone I know. I want this event to be special. A celebration of everything Bright Hope has accomplished. Her eyes lit up. This is perfect. We could raise over $1 million. Over $1 million. That she would never get to steal. I think you should give a speech, I said. A real speech. About your vision for Bright Hope. About the families we've helped. Share some specific stories. Make it personal. Caroline grabbed my hands. That's a brilliant idea. I'll prepare something really moving. Really powerful. Perfect. Exactly what I wanted. Over the next weeks, I coordinated every detail with Agent Chen. We met in that same coffee shop. Always 40 miles from town. Always careful. How many FBI agents will be there? I asked. We'll have a team of 12. 8 inside the ballroom, dressed as guests. They'll be seated at different tables. Blending in. 4 more will be outside with tactical support. When will you move in? Agent Chen smiled. After Caroline's speech. After she's told 400 people about all the good work Bright Hope does. After she's accepted their applause and their admiration. Then you'll stand up. You'll take the microphone. And you'll show them the truth. The truth. In the form of a video I'd been working on for weeks. I'd hired a video editor. Someone Agent Chen recommended. Someone discreet who understood we were building an evidence presentation. The video was 15 minutes long. Every second was devastating. It opened with Caroline's voice from the recordings. Audio of her saying, "We have to be strategic. We have to make sure Bright Hope stays operational." Then cut to bank records. Showing deposits from donors. Then withdrawals to shell companies. Elegant Events LLC. Owner, Marcus Brennan. Payments, $330,000 over 2 years. Victoria Hayes Consulting. Owner, Victoria Hayes. Payments, $360,000 over 2 years. Pinnacle Media Solutions. Owner, David Hayes. Payments, $180,000 over 2 years. On and on. Caroline's family members. Shell companies. Money flowing out of Bright Hope and into their pockets. Then came the children. The fake ones first. Photos we'd used in fundraising materials. Happy, healthy kids. Then their model release forms showing they were paid actors. Children pretending to be sick for $500 while we raised tens of thousands using their fake stories. Then the real children. The ones who actually had cancer. Emma's photo. The little girl in the pink hat. Text overlay. Bright Hope raised $52,000 featuring Emma's story. Emma's family received $2,000. Tyler's photo. Bald from chemotherapy. Smiling despite everything. Bright Hope raised $42,000 featuring Tyler's story. Tyler's family received $2,500. 6 more children. Same pattern. Huge amounts raised. Tiny amounts given. Then video testimonials. Families I'd interviewed. Parents talking about how grateful they were for Bright Hope's help, but confused about why they'd received so little when they later learned how much was raised in their child's name. Then Caroline's emails. Projected on screen. Her own words. This month's take looks good. $87K after expenses. Found a great story. 6-year-old with brain tumor. Should be able to raise $50K minimum with this story. Ruth asks too many questions sometimes. Might need to be more careful. And finally, audio from our lunch. Caroline explaining that families featured in fundraising might only get $2,000 or $3,000 even if $50,000 was raised in their name. The video ended with a simple screen. Over $2 million donated to Bright Hope Children's Foundation. Less than $600,000 actually helped families. Over $1.6 million stolen. This is fraud. I watched it 20 times, making sure every detail was perfect. Every fact was accurate. Every piece of evidence was clear. This video would destroy Bright Hope. Destroy Caroline's reputation. Destroy any chance she had of claiming innocence. And it would play in front of 400 people, 3 media outlets, local politicians. Maximum impact. Maximum exposure. No way to hide. Agent Chen reviewed the video and nodded approvingly. This is perfect, Ruth. Absolutely perfect. By the time this plays, there will be no doubt in anyone's mind what Caroline Brennan has done. What happens after it plays? The moment it ends, my team will move in. We'll arrest Caroline, Marcus, and Victoria. All 3 of them will be there, correct? Yes. Caroline speaking. Marcus is supposedly helping with event logistics. Victoria is attending as a guest. Perfect. We'll take them into custody immediately. In front of everyone. The thought sent a chill through me. Watching Caroline be arrested. In front of 400 people. Part of me felt guilty. She'd been my friend. Or I'd thought she was. But then I thought about Emma. About Tyler. About all those families. No. Caroline deserved this. Every bit of it. I want to be the one who introduces the video, I said. I want to stand up there and tell everyone what Bright Hope really is. Agent Chen studied me. That's going to put you in the spotlight, Ruth. Everyone will know you were the whistleblower. It could get ugly. People might blame you for not seeing it sooner, for being part of it. I was part of it. Unwittingly, but I was still part of it. I helped her steal from people for 3 years because I was too trusting to see what was happening. I owe it to those families to stand up and tell the truth. Even if it's humiliating. Even if people judge me. Agent Chen nodded slowly. All right. You've earned that right. But Ruth, prepare yourself. The next few months are going to be difficult. Media attention. Questions. Possibly depositions if this goes to trial. Your life is about to change dramatically. It already has, I said quietly. The moment I saw that email, everything changed. I can't go back to who I was. The naive volunteer who believed everything she was told. So I might as well move forward. As someone who fought back. As the event approached, I threw myself into planning with an energy that surprised everyone, including myself. The venue. I chose the Grand Marquis Hotel. Their largest ballroom. Could accommodate 450 guests comfortably. The seating chart. I planned it meticulously. Caroline's table front and center. Where every camera would capture her face. Where she'd have the best view of the presentation screens. I seated the FBI agents strategically. Near exits. Near Caroline's table. Ready to move quickly. The media tables were in the back. Good camera angles. Clear sightlines to the stage. The audio-visual setup. I personally supervised the installation. Made absolutely certain that I had control of the presentation system. That my video was loaded and ready. That nothing could go wrong technically. I even had a backup laptop with a second copy. And a third copy on a USB drive in my purse. This video was playing. No matter what. Caroline kept praising my work. Ruth, you're a miracle worker. This is going to be the most successful event Bright Hope has ever had. She had no idea how right she was. 10 days before the event, I had a moment of doubt. I was in my bedroom, looking at the dress I'd bought for the occasion. A deep navy blue gown. Elegant. Dignified. And I thought, what if I'm wrong? What if there's an explanation I haven't considered? What if Caroline has somehow been using the money appropriately and I just don't understand nonprofit accounting? What if I ruin her life and it turns out I misunderstood everything? Then my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Is this Ruth Patterson? From Bright Hope? Yes. Who's this? My name is Jennifer Martinez. You called me a few months ago. About my son Tyler. He had leukemia. I remembered. Tyler's story had been featured at one of our galas. They'd raised $42,000. His family got $2,500. Yes, Mrs. Martinez. I remember. How is Tyler? He's gone. He passed away 3 weeks ago. My heart broke. Oh, Mrs. Martinez. I'm so sorry. Thank you. Her voice was thick with tears. I'm calling because, the funeral expenses. We're struggling. And I remembered that Bright Hope raised all that money for Tyler. I wondered, is there any way we could get help with his funeral costs? I closed my eyes. Tried to keep my voice steady. How much was raised using Tyler's story, Mrs. Martinez? You told me it was $42,000. And how much did your family receive in total? $2,500. For gas and parking during his treatments. 42,000 raised. 2,500 given. Tyler died anyway. And now his family couldn't afford to bury him, while Caroline and her family had pocketed the rest. Almost $40,000 stolen in the name of a dying child. Mrs. Martinez, I can't help you through Bright Hope, but I'm going to send you a check from my personal account for the funeral. Okay? You don't have to. I do. I absolutely do. Give me your address. She did. I sent her $5,000 the next day. From my own retirement savings. It wasn't enough. It would never be enough. But the doubt was gone. Caroline Brennan had stolen from dying children, had exploited their suffering for profit, had let a child die knowing his family had received pennies while she pocketed thousands in his name. She deserved everything that was coming to her. The final week before the event, Caroline was in constant preparation mode. She'd written and rewritten her speech. Practiced it in front of me. It was moving, powerful, full of stories about children Bright Hope had supposedly helped. Statistics about families assisted. Dreams about future programs. All lies. What do you think, Ruth? Too emotional? Not emotional enough? It's perfect, Caroline. It's going to touch everyone's heart. It would. Right before I broke them all by revealing the truth. The day before the event, Agent Chin called. Everything's set. My team will be in position by 6 p.m. tomorrow. We'll blend in with guests as they arrive. You'll give your signal when you're ready for us to move in. What's the signal? After the video plays. After everyone's seen the evidence. You'll say 3 specific words into the microphone, justice for children. That's our cue to arrest Caroline, Marcus, and Victoria. Justice for children. I repeated it. Memorized it. Those 3 words would change everything. Ruth, are you ready for this? Was I? Tomorrow night, I would stand in front of 400 people. 3 media outlets. Local politicians. Major donors. And I would expose my own complicity in a massive fraud. I would watch my friend be arrested. I would become the face of one of the biggest charity scandals our community had ever seen. Yes, I said firmly. I'm ready. The day of the event arrived. I woke at 5 a.m., couldn't sleep anymore. Too much adrenaline. I showered. Did my hair carefully. Applied makeup with shaking hands. Put on the navy blue gown. Looked at myself in the mirror. I looked like a sweet elderly woman. A grandmother. A retired teacher. No one would suspect that underneath this gentle exterior was someone about to detonate a bomb. I arrived at the venue at noon. The event didn't start until 7, but I wanted to supervise every detail. The ballroom looked beautiful. Round tables with white linens and gold accents. Centerpieces with white roses and candles. A stage at the front with a podium and 2 large projection screens on either side. Everything perfect. I tested the audio-visual system 3 times. My video played flawlessly each time. Agent Chin arrived at 5, dressed in an elegant evening gown. She looked like any other wealthy donor. You'd never know she was FBI. My team is in position, she said quietly when she found me. We're ready when you are. At 6:30, guests started arriving. Elegant gowns and tuxedos. Champagne at the entrance. A string quartet playing softly. I greeted people at the door. Smiled. Thanked them for coming. Played the gracious host. Inside, I was screaming. Caroline arrived at 6:45. She looked stunning in a red gown. Confident. Radiant. She had no idea this was her last night as a free woman. Ruth, everything looks incredible. You've outdone yourself. Thank you. I wanted tonight to be special. Memorable. Oh, it will be. I promise you. Tonight is going to change everything for Bright Hope. She had no idea how right she was. Dinner was served at 7:15. Filet mignon. Roasted vegetables. Decadent chocolate dessert. I barely tasted my food. My stomach was in knots. At 8 o'clock, the MC took the stage. A local radio personality who'd volunteered to host. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here tonight. Your generosity and compassion are what make Bright Hope Children's Foundation possible. And now, it's my pleasure to introduce the heart and soul of Bright Hope. A woman whose dedication to helping children in their darkest hours is truly inspiring. Please welcome Caroline Brennan. The room erupted in applause. Caroline walked to the podium, beaming. She took a moment to look around the room, soaking in the admiration. Then she began her speech. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's overwhelming to see this room full of people who care as deeply about children's lives as I do. She paused for effect. 3 years ago, I started Bright Hope with a simple mission. to give hope to families facing the unimaginable. Watching your child battle cancer is every parent's worst nightmare. And too often, the financial burden makes that nightmare even worse. The room was silent. Captivated. That's where Bright Hope comes in. Thanks to your generosity, we've been able to help hundreds of families. Pay for treatments that insurance denied. Cover housing near hospitals. Provide transportation to specialists hundreds of miles away. Give hope when there was none. She told stories. Some real, most embellished, some completely fabricated. The story of Emma, whose treatment was covered by Bright Hope, allowing her to go into remission. Except Emma's family had received $2,000, not the full treatment cost. The story of Michael, whose family was about to lose their home until Bright Hope stepped in. Except that family had received $1,500, barely enough for one mortgage payment. On and on. Moving stories. Tear-jerking moments. The audience was captivated. I saw people wiping their eyes, reaching for tissues. And I felt sick, because I knew the truth. Caroline's speech reached its crescendo. Thanks to all of you, we've raised over $2 million in the past 3 years. $2 million that have changed lives. Saved lives. Given hope to the hopeless. The room applauded. Standing ovation. Caroline beamed. Soaked in the adoration. Thank you. Thank you all. Together, we're making miracles happen. And with your continued support, we'll help hundreds more families in the years to come. More applause. More cheers. Caroline stepped away from the podium, heading back to her seat. The MC started to return to the stage. This was it. My moment. I stood up. Walked toward the stage. The MC looked confused. Ruth, did you need something? I took the microphone from his hand. I'm sorry to interrupt. But there's something everyone needs to see. Before this night goes any further, you all deserve to know the truth about Bright Hope Children's Foundation. The room went quiet. Confused murmurs. Caroline's face went pale. She started to stand. Ruth, what are you doing? I looked directly at her. Met her eyes. I'm doing what I should have done 3 years ago. I'm telling the truth. I nodded to the audio-visual operator. My signal. The lights dimmed. The screens came to life. And the video began to play. The video began. Caroline's voice filled the ballroom. Audio from our recorded lunch conversation. Yes, some of our vendor costs are higher than they would be with completely independent companies. Marcus's catering company. Victoria's consulting firm. I hire family because I trust them. The screen showed bank records. Deposits. Then withdrawals. Elegant Events LLC. Owner, Marcus Brennan. Payments over 2 years, $330,000. Victoria Hayes Consulting. Owner, Victoria Hayes. Payments over 2 years, $360,000. Pinnacle Media Solutions. Owner, David Hayes. Payments over 2 years, $180,000. The room was completely silent, everyone staring at the screens. Caroline was frozen in her seat. Her face had gone from pale to gray. Marcus, sitting 3 tables away, started to stand. An FBI agent dressed as a guest put a hand on his shoulder. Firm. He sat back down. The video continued. Photos of children appeared. Smiling, healthy kids. Then their model release forms. Agreement between Bright Hope Children's Foundation and Amanda Reeves, parent/guardian of minor child Trevor Reeves, age 7. Payment, $500 for unlimited use of minor's image in promotional materials. Parent/guardian acknowledges that minor child does not have cancer and is not receiving services from Bright Hope. Images are for marketing purposes only. Gasps throughout the room. They're fake, someone whispered. Those children are fake. The video moved to real children. Kids who actually had cancer. Emma's photo appeared. The little girl in the pink hat. Smiling despite everything. Text overlay. Bright Hope raised $52,000 featuring Emma's story at a spring gala. Emma's family received $2,000. More gasps. Someone said, "Oh my God." Tyler's photo. Bald from chemotherapy. Big beautiful eyes. Bright Hope raised $42,000 featuring Tyler's story. Tyler's family received $2,500. Tyler passed away 3 weeks ago. His family couldn't afford funeral costs. I heard someone sob. Multiple people were crying now. But not tears of inspiration. Tears of betrayal. Anger. Disgust. 6 more children. Same pattern. Tens of thousands raised. Pennies given. Then came the family testimonials. Video interviews I'd conducted. Mrs. Martinez, Tyler's mother. We're grateful for the help. But when Ruth told me they'd raised $42,000 using my son's story, and we only received $2,500, I didn't understand. Where did the rest go? Mr. Chen, whose daughter had brain cancer. They told us Emma's story inspired people to give $30,000. We got $2,000. I asked Caroline about it. She said something about administrative costs and overhead. But that much? The Johnson family, the Patterson family, the Rodriguez family, all telling similar stories. Small amounts received, huge amounts raised in their children's names. Then Caroline's emails appeared on the screens. Her own words. Projected 20 feet high for everyone to see. This month's take looks good. $87K after expenses. Split 3 ways as usual. Found a great story. 6-year-old with brain tumor. Should be able to raise $50K minimum with this story. Kid's adorable. Bald, big eyes, perfect for video testimonials. A great story. A dying child was a great story. The room was in chaos now. People shouting. Angry voices. This can't be real. She's been stealing from sick children? I donated $10,000 last year. Caroline stood up. Tried to speak. Everyone, please, this is a misunderstanding. But her voice was drowned out by the audio from our lunch. Playing over the speakers. Caroline's voice. Donors are emotional, Ruth. They give because a story moves them. But we can't let emotions dictate how we allocate resources. We have to be strategic. My voice. So if we raise $50,000 at an event featuring Emma's story, Emma's family might only get $2,000 or $3,000? Caroline's voice. If that's what our need assessment determines, yes. The video showed more financial records. A simple breakdown. Total raised by Bright Hope over 3 years, $2,300,000. Total given to families, $580,000. Total stolen through shell companies and inflated expenses, $1,720,000. The final screen appeared. This is fraud. This is theft. This is what Bright Hope Children's Foundation really is. The video ended. The screens went black. The ballroom erupted. Everyone talking at once. Shouting. Some people were crying. Others were furious. I stood at the podium, waiting for the noise to die down. It took a full minute. Finally, people quieted enough for me to speak. My name is Ruth Patterson. For 3 years, I volunteered at Bright Hope. I organized events. I reached out to donors. I was the face of this organization in our community. My voice was steady. Stronger than I expected. For 3 years, I believed we were helping dying children. I believed Caroline Brennan was a dedicated nonprofit leader. I believed the money you donated was making a real difference. I paused. Looked directly at Caroline. She was still standing, frozen. I was wrong. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry to every donor in this room who trusted me. Who gave money because I asked them to. Because I promised it would help families. I didn't know I was lying to you. But I was. The room was completely silent now. Caroline Brennan and her family have been running a charity fraud scheme. Using fake sick children and real sick children to steal from generous people. Less than 30% of your donations actually helped families. The rest went into their pockets. I took a breath. I discovered this 3 months ago. Since then, I've been working with the FBI to gather evidence. Everything you saw in that video is real. Verified. Documented. And tonight, justice will be served. I looked directly into Caroline's eyes. Justice for children. The signal. Instantly, FBI agents throughout the room stood up. Revealed their badges. FBI. Nobody move. Agent Chen walked straight to Caroline. Caroline Brennan, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit wire fraud, mail fraud, and theft from a charitable organization. She pulled out handcuffs. Caroline's legs gave out. She started to collapse. An agent caught her. No. No, this isn't happening. Ruth, please, you don't understand. I understand perfectly, I said. You stole $1.7 million from dying children. I understand that completely. 2 agents approached Marcus. He tried to run. Made it 3 steps before they grabbed him. Marcus Brennan, you're under arrest. Victoria was at a table near the back. She saw the agents coming and actually tried to hide under the table. They pulled her out. Handcuffed her right there. The room was in chaos. Media cameras were rolling, capturing everything. The arrests. The crying. The anger. Caroline was being led toward the exit, handcuffed, crying hysterically. She looked at me as they passed. Ruth, please. We were friends. How could you do this to me? I stared at her. This woman I'd trusted, believed in, worked beside for 3 years. How could I? Caroline, you stole from dying children. You used their suffering to buy yourself a luxury lifestyle. You exploited families at their most vulnerable. And you made me help you do it without even knowing. My voice broke. You made me lie to people I care about. You turned me into an accomplice in your crimes. So don't you dare ask me how I could do this to you. Caroline started sobbing. They led her away. The ballroom was still in chaos. Donors were furious, demanding their money back, threatening lawsuits. Agent Chen took the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Special Agent Sarah Chen with the FBI. I understand you're angry. You have every right to be. The charges being filed against Caroline Brennan, Marcus Brennan, and Victoria Hayes are very serious. They face decades in federal prison if convicted. She paused. As for your donations, we will be working to recover as much money as possible. The assets of the defendants will be seized. Bright Hope's bank accounts will be frozen and audited. We will do everything in our power to return stolen funds to legitimate charitable purposes and to the families who should have received help. Someone shouted from the crowd. What about the children? The real ones who need help? Agent Chen looked at me. Nodded. I took the microphone back. I'm starting a new foundation. A real one. With complete transparency. Every dollar donated will be tracked. Every family helped will be documented. Board oversight. Independent audits. Everything Bright Hope should have been. My voice grew stronger. Tyler Martinez passed away 3 weeks ago. His family couldn't afford his funeral. I paid for it from my own savings. That should never happen. Not when generous people are willing to give. Not when there's real need. I looked around the room. At the faces. Angry, hurt, betrayed. I know you're angry at me. You should be. I should have seen this sooner. Should have questioned more. Should have protected you from being exploited. But I'm asking you, don't let Caroline Brennan's crimes stop you from helping families who truly need it. Channel your anger into making sure this never happens again. The room was quiet. Then someone started clapping. Slow at first. Then others joined. Within seconds, the entire room was applauding. For me. I started crying. Couldn't help it. Thank you, I whispered into the microphone. Thank you for believing that good people can still do good things. Even after being deceived. The next hours were a blur. Media interviews. Everyone wanted to talk to me. Mrs. Patterson, how did you discover the fraud? Mrs. Patterson, how do you feel about your role in this? Mrs. Patterson, what's next for you? I answered honestly. I didn't hide my complicity. Didn't pretend I was innocent. I helped them steal for 3 years because I was too trusting. That's on me. But the moment I knew, I fought back. That's also on me. And I'll spend whatever time I have left making it right. The story exploded. Local news that night. National news the next morning. Charity fraud ring exposed at Gala event. Retired teacher brings down multi-million-dollar scam. Fake sick children used to steal from donors. Caroline, Marcus, and Victoria were held without bail. Flight risk. The evidence against them was overwhelming. 2 weeks later, the U.S. attorney held a press conference. Caroline Brennan, charged with 15 counts of wire fraud, 10 counts of mail fraud, conspiracy, theft from a charitable organization, and tax evasion, facing up to 120 years in federal prison. Marcus Brennan, charged with conspiracy and wire fraud, facing up to 40 years. Victoria Hayes, charged with conspiracy and wire fraud, facing up to 40 years. 3 other family members who'd run shell companies were also charged. The trial took 8 months to begin. Caroline's lawyer tried every defense. Argued that the costs were legitimate. That nonprofit overhead was normal. That the families had received appropriate assistance. But the evidence was overwhelming. Bank records showing money flowing to family-owned shell companies. Model release forms proving fake children. Emails where Caroline explicitly discussed this month's take. Family testimonials showing the tiny amounts they received versus the huge amounts raised in their names. And my testimony. I sat on the witness stand for 6 hours over 2 days. Told the jury everything. My 3 years of volunteering. My discovery of the fraud. My work with the FBI. Caroline's lawyer tried to paint me as vindictive. As someone with a grudge. Isn't it true, Mrs. Patterson, that you felt underappreciated at Bright Hope? No. Isn't it true that you wanted Caroline Brennan's position? Absolutely not. Then why did you work so hard to destroy her? I looked directly at the jury. Because she was stealing from dying children. Because families who were desperate for help were being exploited. Because generous people were being tricked into funding her lifestyle instead of helping sick kids. That's why. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty. All counts. All 3 defendants. Sentencing came 2 months later. Caroline Brennan, 15 years in federal prison. Ordered to pay $1.7 million in restitution. Marcus Brennan, 12 years. Victoria Hayes, 10 years. The other family members received lesser sentences. Between 3 and 7 years each. Caroline cried during sentencing. Begged for mercy. Claimed she'd made mistakes but never intended to hurt anyone. The judge wasn't sympathetic. Ms. Brennan, you didn't make mistakes. You orchestrated a systematic, calculated scheme to defraud donors and exploit sick children. You used their suffering as a marketing tool. You gave desperate families just enough to generate thank you letters while pocketing the rest. This wasn't a mistake. This was greed. Pure and simple. He banged his gavel. 15 years. That was 2 years ago. Today, I'm 69 years old. And I run the Hope Restored Foundation. We've helped 83 families so far. Real help. Significant financial assistance. Transparent accounting. Every donor receives quarterly reports showing exactly where their money went. Every family we help is interviewed and their story is verified by independent social workers. We have a board of directors with no family connections to me or the staff. We have independent audits twice a year. We publish our financial statements online for anyone to see. And every dollar that comes in, 75 cents goes directly to families. 25 cents covers legitimate operating expenses. Every expense is documented and justified. We've raised $900,000 so far. $675,000 has gone to families. Every penny accounted for. The money recovered from Caroline and her co-conspirators? Most of it has been distributed to the families who were defrauded. The families whose children's stories were used while they received pennies. Emma's family got the full $52,000 that was raised in her name. Tyler's family got $42,000. They used it to create a scholarship fund in his memory. Every family got what they should have received in the first place. The rest of the recovered funds went to Hope Restored. Seed money to help us start fresh. To do it right this time. I visit Caroline in prison once a year. I don't know why. Maybe because I need to see that justice was real. That she's actually paying for what she did. She's different now. Thinner. Older. Broken. Last year, she apologized. Said she was sorry for using me. For lying to me. For making me complicit. I accepted her apology. Not because I forgive her. I'm not there yet. Maybe I never will be. But because holding on to anger was poisoning me. And I have work to do. Families to help. A wrong to keep writing for as long as I live. People ask me sometimes if it was worth it. Blowing the whistle. Exposing the fraud. The answer is complicated. I lost friends. People who couldn't believe sweet Caroline would do such things. Who thought I must have misunderstood. Who blamed me for not seeing it sooner. I've had sleepless nights. Guilt over the 3 years I unknowingly helped steal from families. I've been interviewed. Scrutinized. My life picked apart by media and lawyers and strangers on the internet. But I also think about Emma's mother, who thanked me through tears when she received the full amount that had been raised in her daughter's name. Money that's helping with Emma's ongoing medical care. I think about the new families Hope Restored is helping. Families getting real, meaningful support. Knowing every dollar came from someone who genuinely wanted to help them. I think about the 8 other charity fraud investigations that were launched after our case became public. Other Caroline Brennans who are now facing justice because donors and volunteers saw our story and realized they might be victims too. So yes, it was worth it. Every difficult moment. Every sleepless night. Every minute of testimony. Every media interview. Worth it. Because justice matters. Truth matters. And protecting the most vulnerable among us, dying children and their desperate families, that matters most of all. I'm standing in front of Patricia Morrison's grave today. Not Patricia from our story, but a real grave. A real woman I loved. Wait. That's not right. I'm standing in front of my own reflection. In my bathroom mirror. Getting ready for another day at Hope Restored. I'm 70 years old now. My hair is completely white. I have wrinkles that weren't there 3 years ago. Scars that don't show but that I carry with me every day. But I also have something I didn't have before. Purpose. Real purpose. The kind that comes from fighting for something bigger than yourself. And peace. The kind that comes from knowing you did the right thing. Even when it was hard. Even when it cost you. Even when it meant betraying someone you thought was a friend. Yesterday, a mother called me. Her daughter was just diagnosed with leukemia. She was sobbing, terrified, overwhelmed by medical bills she couldn't pay. I saw your story on the news, she said through tears. About exposing that fraud. About starting a real charity. Can you help us? Yes, I told her. We can help. That's exactly why we exist. We're sending her family $15,000 next week. For medical expenses. For travel to the children's hospital 2 hours away. For the things insurance doesn't cover. $15,000 that will actually reach them. Not $2,000 while we pocket the rest. Real help. Honest help. The way it should have been all along. Before we go, I need to tell you something. If you're volunteering for a charity right now, ask questions. Look at financial statements. Make sure vendor expenses make sense. Verify that the families you're told you're helping are actually receiving significant support. Most charities are legitimate. Most nonprofit leaders are genuinely dedicated to their missions. But some aren't. Some are Caroline Brennan's. Using your goodness, your generosity, your trust to line their own pockets. Don't be like I was. Don't trust blindly. Don't ignore red flags because you want so badly to believe you're doing good. Trust, but verify. Care deeply, but question thoroughly. And if you discover fraud? Report it. Immediately. Don't confront the person. Don't give them time to destroy evidence. Go to the FBI. Go to your state attorney general. Go to charity watchdog organizations. And be prepared for it to be hard. Really hard. People might not believe you. Might blame you. Might make you feel like you're the bad guy for exposing someone who seemed so good. Do it anyway. Because somewhere, there's a family. A child. Someone vulnerable and desperate who's being exploited. And they need someone brave enough to fight for them. Be that person. I was 70 years old when I decided to stop being passive. To stop accepting what I was told without question. You're never too old. Never too tired. Never too small to fight for what's right. Thank you for walking this difficult road with me to the very end. If this story resonated with you, you can support our community by sending a super thanks. It helps me continue to bring these important stories to light. On the screen now are 2 more stories that I know will touch your soul. I'll see you in the next one. Stay strong.